I got a box of Innistrad play boosters, and I want to play a game that Jake and I have been playing lately, and that's can we build an entire functioning commander deck out of one box of a product. In this one, I'm going to go with the box of Innistrad Remastered play boosters. While I'm cracking into this, I want to thank our channel sponsors. Card Conduit, the best place to go to sell your cards quickly and easily on the internet. You got TCG Player, best place to go online and have stores compete for your wallet to buy your MTG cards. Dragon Shield, the best way to protect them once you've got them in hand. And Moxfield, the best way to put your deck lists on the internet. We're going to open this up, and as we go, we're going to look for notables. We're looking for big bombs that might win us a commander game. We're looking for legends, obviously. There is some daddy vampire in here, and that's what we could get. But we're going to hope that we get a playable legend nonetheless. Lab Maniac, Biolume Egg into a Shipwreck Marsh. Okay, we're not going to turn down lands, actually, for fishing. Got a Wild Hunger, and then a Foil Ambush Viper, and that's going to start us off. Let me get a little organized here, and we'll kick into this. Okay, so now I've got it divided into specific piles as I'm opening to try and help the process along. My top row is just my commons and uncommons by color, and then after that, we're going to put rares in the middle so that we can see where more of our power lay. Ooh, Imprisoned in the Moon. We're actually going to have a little rares and definite notables pile. That's what we're going to do. We got dual lands down here. We'll have the middle row so that we can tell where a lot of our power is going to sit. Grimgrin, Corpse Born. Not a bad way to start out our legend options. We'll keep Grimgrin down here at the bottom so we can at a glance tell what we're working with. So after pack 2, we've already got a good legend to pick from. If we end up with enough support for blue-black zombies, that's not nothing there. Into our colorless cards here, and we're into pack 3. Another Evolving Wilds. Can't go duplicates. We're not going to do that. One thing that we do allow ourselves with this game is a Command Tower, a Soul Ring, and a Arcane Signet. Ooh, Cathar's Crusade. Really good commander card there. That's definitely something. Spider Spawning and Covetous Castaway in our foil. All right, out of pack 4 here. Let's see where we are at. Olivia's Dragoon starts us off. Tragic Slip, not bad removal if we're looking for it. And we will be looking for it for sure. Another Lab Maniac. Mausoleum Wanderer, not super interesting to us, but a rare nonetheless. Silent Departure and an Alchemist's Greeting. Let's go into pack 5 and see where we land. This is always going to be sort of the first step of opening a box and turning it right into a commander deck, is you're going to want it sorted. Typically, a lot of people will sort as they're opening anyway, just to have it ready to roll. Graph Rats. Odric, Lunarch Marshal. That's a nice commander card there. We'll take that alongside the Cathar's Crusade. 2 early strong pieces in white. So far with these two, we've got a cool creature thing going. Cathar's Crusade is going to put a +1 counter on each creature I control every time a creature enters. And then Odric is going to give every creature on your battlefield pretty much any keyword that any creature can have if a creature on your battlefield has it. So really strong way to potentially start leaning that deck. Odric an option, though we will probably want to go multicolor in the commander slot just so that we can make sure to have enough good playables. Lots of duplicates, but that's okay. Overgrown Farmland, nice little dual land there. Not a hyper power rare, but it is a dual land, and those are going to be hard to come by with this sort of challenge. Typically, even though we do allow for the 1 Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Command Tower in this game, typically you're not going to end up with a ton of good fixing, so any of those lands that we get are welcomed. Ooh, yes! One of my very favorite black-white legends, Liesa. Forgotten Archangel. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. And if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Love that. Oh, baby, with a retro Sorin Imperious Bloodlord behind that. That's just cool to pull. And a foil Hermit Druid behind that. What a pack. Holy moly. These play packs, the way they're designed now, can pop sometimes. Sheesh. That was quite a play pack if I've ever seen one. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Nice. Very cool. Okay. Some more cards for the options here. Liesa being our second multicolor legend option. Man, retro planeswalkers look crazy, don't they? Just sitting here admiring the Sorin as we... Let's get into pack 8. See if it can deliver as wholeheartedly as pack 7 did. That was quite something. Asylum Visitor at uncommon, not bad. Compelling Deterrence. Hellvault. I can exile a creature I control. And if I can figure out a way to get this into the graveyard, that stuff will come back. It's okay. Man, one pack of play can do that, huh? Lots of Eldrazi. Seeing lots of those common and uncommon Eldrazi in here. There's a Dusk Watch Recruiter in that frame. Oh, Maelstrom Pulse. That's pretty nice. This has got a nice little reverse frame version here too. We'll just keep that with the green cards. Maelstrom Pulse, new art. Laboratory Maniac in the retro frame. And Faith Unbroken. Maelstrom Pulse, really good removal. Black, green, not yet a combo we had really considered. Not saying that it's out of the running by any means. We're not even halfway through this box yet. Hopeful Initiate, nice little white card there. Oh, Morbid Opportunist, fantastic commander card. Oh, and a Killing Wave. Not a terrible board wipe if we end up in black. I'm putting all of those right there because those are very interesting to me. Killing Wave for each creature its controller sacrifices it unless they pay X life. Pretty sweet in that sacrifice. And then Morbid Opportunist, just so good in a commander deck in general. Whenever one or more other creatures die, draw a card. Commander is about the long game, and you want to be drawing cards as much as possible. And that Hopeful Initiate's just a one-drop creature. Can come down nice and early. But the important thing is that you can remove counters from among creatures with its activated ability and destroy artifacts and enchantments. So, nice versatility there. Ooh, a Braid. Nice red card. We'll put that in the middle pile. That's worth knowing that we got a copy of it. Grizzly Ghoul Zombie Bear. I didn't even know this card. Lumberknot. I know that card. Overcharged Amalgam. Gotta exploit something, but you get to counter a spell activated ability when you do. Essence Flux. In the retro, and a foil rare Spell Queller. Not bad. Okay, so this is pack 12. See where we end up here. Start flying through a little bit of this as we just sort this stuff down. Get to the uncommons. Lightning Mauler. Rise from the Tides. Twin Blade Geist into a Hanweir Garrison. Little tokens creator. Bound by Moonsilver in the retro. Not bad removal in white. Go to pack 13. Pack 13, so far we've got 2 viable multicolor options in Commander. Sharing a color. Look like we are going into black so far. We'll see if a last minute pivot happens. Feels like we got to the uncommons here pretty fast. Slayer of the Wicked. Ambitious Farmhand, another Maelstrom Pulse. That is cool and not cool. Bedlam Reveler. Nice big red finishy thing. Lumberknot. And a foil Imprison in the Moon. Nice. If we go blue, that will definitely be the copy we're running. Pack 14, nearing the halfway mark. See if we can't find some more gold legends to potentially be the commander here, or at least give us more options. It's going better than the Jumpstart box went. And I heard your notes. Oh, I was putting white cards over here accidentally. I heard your thoughts. I heard many people tell me that there are no multicolor options in Jumpstart, but there are. You gotta look at the text box. That is where the color identity comes from. Deadeye Navigator, fantastic card. Zealous Conscripts in the showcase, another fantastic card, looking pretty sweet there. And a Griff's Boon in the retro, and our foil is a Thermo Alchemist. And getting to the halfway mark. Let's see what pack 15 has in store for us. If you're keeping track at home, we've been going left to right across the rows as I laid them out. You'll have to watch at the beginning and see if I laid them out in order. I can't remember. I wasn't paying attention. Should have been. Was not. Thermo Alchemist into Groundskeeper. Another Bedlam Reveler. Doesn't do us any good. A Retro Butcher Ghoul. A Foil Blazing Torch. That pack sucked. It's okay, though. We got an art card. What can you say? Pack 16. Let's keep it plugging and get into something a little bit better here. Pack 16. Pick it back up. We need some more legend options. Let's throw these commons and uncommons on their piles. On their piles. Sever the Bloodline. Not bad removal. Exile target creature, not all the creatures with the same name. It's expensive, but it does flash back. Onweir Captain. Hamlet Captain, excuse me. Forbidden Alchemy. Soul Cipher. Board. Temporal Mastery. Extra turns. We're getting some blue rare support, aren't we? Scorned Villager. And our foil is a Compelling Deterrence. We continue our exploration of Innistrad Remastered. What have y'all thought of this set? This has actually been a pretty cool one, I think. Opening experience, I think people had a more fun time with than they were anticipating. Did a draft of this last weekend. Everybody seemed to be having a pretty good time. Oh, it's an Elder Deep Fiend. We got a rare Eldrazi that time. Into a retro Village Rites and a foil Drogskull Shieldmate. Pack 18 keeps it going. Okay, so we pulled an angel. We pulled a zombie. We pulled a vampire with the Sorin. It was even Sorin himself. Feel like maybe a werewolf. We need some sort of... We got a rare Eldrazi. Oh, we got a rare human. We've pretty much got strong representation from the entire plane here. This was the deck that I drafted. I ended up with 3 Join the Dance. And so I went Join the Dance and that 3 or 4 drop that gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. How about Archangel Avacyn? Not bad at all. That is something there. Into a retro blood artist. We'll take that as well. And a foil werewolf card. But the story here is the fact that this blood artist is going in the middle pile. And that we pulled an Archangel Avacyn. It's got a line at the top of it. You can see it. Oh yeah, that's very clear. Very weird. But it's got Avacyn and the Purifier on the back like it should. That is pretty cool. We already had an angel, but we didn't have a mythic angel. Now we have a mythic zombie and a mythic angel. Yo, shout out to Travis for hooking me up with the box. Funny story, I actually haven't paid for this box yet as I'm shooting this video with it. So, am I some sort of criminal? I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe it's time for my turn into a life of crime. I'm going to break bad a few years into being a full-time YouTuber. And I'm going to start stealing product 1 box at a time, but then make a video about it and admit to it. Another Hermit Druid. Not necessary, thanks. Duskwatch Recruiter and a Tower Geist. So yeah, Trav, if you're watching this and I still haven't paid for it, it's legally mine now. We've lived together long enough, me and this box, that we are now common law, I'm just going to say married. That's right. I've married this box. You can't make me pay for it. That's against the rules. But shout out to Travis for hooking me up with the box. Also, the playmat that you see was actually a gift from Trav as well. This is a very Mr. Gafford themed episode. Infernal Grasp. That's the kind of card that we are looking for. We are looking for cards that will win games by doing a lot of damage. We are... Ooh, Mass Hysteria. That is a card I wanted. Pretty cool. Ecstatic Awakener. And Spore Crawler. As we're opening for a project like this of building an entire commander deck, you want bombs. It's kind of like a draft. You want removal. You want bombs, but you're thinking more multiplayer-centric. You're obviously using what you've got access to as far as removal, but you're going to want to be drawing cards. Really need to prioritize cards that draw you cards. A commander that draws you cards, insane. And then past that, it's, yeah, removal, wide effects, each opponent effects. Ooh, a death cap glade. Did we already have one of those? No, that's another one. Now we got a black-green land we can use with our double Maelstrom Pulses. Grapple with the past. We aren't playing sealed rules, though. With this game, Jake and I, we do allow ourselves to have a Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Command Tower, but we're not building it in such a way as I open 2 Maelstrom Pulse, I can run 2 Maelstrom Pulse. We are just trying to show an example of making a full-on commander deck that you could go and play with your friends immediately, regardless of like, oh, it's the highest power level that you could achieve. Obviously, we're not going to get that from one box, but I want to show how that you can, you know, make use of the product ready to go right there as it is. Nice Demonic Taskmaster. I just love that card. Right out of the box and just get going, you know what I'm saying? And you can upgrade as you go, because you'll run into, naturally as you're playing, another Mythic. Wow, Renin 7. This box has been Mythic heavy. Very cool. Probably not going to be something that we end up running, but that's a Renin 7. Into a Retro Abyssinian Priest and a Town Gossip Monger. This box has been pretty spicy as far as pulls go, gotta admit. Next up, what are we sitting on? I'm gonna start rocketing through some of the commons and uncommons. We've gotten so many duplicates at this point. That'll be half the battle. We'll be just pulling out the usables. Voldaren Bloodcaster. Nice little, whenever this or another non-token creature dies, you get a little blood token action going. There we go. Into Arch Ghoul. And Lunarch Veteran. Next up. I think I've pretty much gotten everything I want from this set. I opened a foil. I mean, not a foil, a retro of the other version of Avacyn. Avacyn Hope. And that was one of the main cards that I wanted. Along with Mass Hysteria. I wanted Mass Hysteria in the other frame. Collective Defiance. Probably not going to be a card that we use. Twin Blade Geist. And then a Dauntless Cathar. So I think at this point I've opened up everything. I already had a Markov. I bought that deck when it came out with C17. And I've played it forever since then. And so I didn't need Edgar. So it's always fun to pull one. And the hype has certainly been high on Edgar. Deadly Allure into another Mass Hysteria. Now I've got 2 Mass Hysterias. Into a Retro Mausoleum Wanderer. Into a Neonate's Rush. I was going to see, can we get another triple rare or better pack? The answer is no, but we'll take a 2 rare pack. 2 rare packs are sweet. All right, this is pack 26. Got about 10 packs left in this box. Nearly there. It's kind of a goodbye to 36 pack boxes, am I right? What this product ended up being. Captain, that's what it was. Oh no, that was just one of the go wide like helper cards. That was not the card that was the finisher in that one. Neglected Heirloom into Distended Mindbender, another rare Eldrazi. With some spooky art. Blood Tithe Harvester in the retro looks awesome. And Angelic Purge in foil. We will probably end up running that if we're in white, and so far it's looking like white is probably going to be in our colors. We will see where we end up falling. Already gotten a braid. Already got most of this as far as commons go. I have to put all this in a notebook and see how far off I am I'm collecting the whole set at this point. Shrill Howler. Hides a wedding announcement. Hides a Twin Blade Geist. And a Gluttonous Guest. Jake and I have had a good time making these videos, and it seems like y'all have enjoyed watching them. I'm curious, is this something that y'all would want to hang out with live? If y'all would want to do this live with me or Jake. Thrive an Inspector. Little showcase card there. Love seeing that. Nice. Metallic Mimic. Ancestral Anger in the retro. And a Blood Mad Vampire behind that. Extra cards in there? I don't know what that was all about. Yeah, I was interested. I was curious. I was thinking about, this would be a fun thing to do live. Open the whole box and then sit there and build a commander deck out of it. Could be fun. Let me know in the comments. Let us know if you want to see something like that, and we'll see if we can get it going. Faithless Looting, we'll just go ahead and pop in that pile, because we'll end up running that if we're in red, though I'm not sure. No, we'll just keep that in colorless for now. Not sure where we're going to fall. And red right now is not looking like it, just based on legends that we've pulled. Overgrown Farmland. Oh, that's dual Overgrown Farmlands. Fiend Hunter, fantastic. Oh, nice. And a foil showcase Spell Queller. Very cool looking card. Not going to be useful for us, but a very cool looking card nonetheless. That will go into the Tide. Put that Spell Queller there. That'll go into the Binder as a trade option. Got Chicago coming up not too long from time of shooting this video. If you're watching it before then, I'll definitely have my trade binder on me if anybody wants to get together. Gather the Townsfolk. There's a Zombie Gold uncommon. Feels like we got to the uncommons pretty fast. Let's see where we're at here. Not too fast. Aberrant Researcher. Collective Brutality. Choose one or more. Target opponent reveals their hand. Choose an instant or sorcery. They discard it. Target creature gets -2/-2. Or target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Not terrible. Not super impactful for Commander, but not horrible. All right, that was pack 30. We're into our final 6 packs here. Currently, I'm looking at Liesa the most. I just really like the archetype there, and there's probably some good support that we can get for like a sacrifice destruction theme, though we're not going to be able to go super heavy into removal just simply by the merit of not pulling a ton. Another Morbid Opportunist. Stensia Masquerade. Oh, baby. Nice showcase Hullbreaker there. Blue is all of a sudden more interesting. Gonna crawl from the cellar behind that. Ooh, baby. Oh, and an Infernal Grasp behind that. In the foil showcase. God, what a cool looking card. That is sick. That is awesome. That is awesome. This box has been awesome. I personally have very much enjoyed this box. I think that I've got a lot of cards here that I'm going to run in many different things. Got a lot of commander decks that are going to get some little upgrades here and there from this opening, which is kind of sweet. Boom, boom, boarded window. And it's traverse the Ulvenwald, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand. I wonder if we've got enough fixing. We'll have to take a peek at the green, into a Think Twice, into an Abundant Maw. We'll have to take a peek at the green and see what our fixing is like. And see... No, we don't have a legend. No, I'm limited. I'm not even thinking about my color identity here. I'm limited by what we pick as what we pulled as far as legends, and so far, Grimgrin and Liesa. That's pretty much it. The only other legend I think we've gotten is Odric. So we shall see. Last 5 packs, last 4 packs. This is 4th to the last here. Flying Haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 2 target creatures you control each get +1/+0 until end of turn. Meh. Howlpack Lance, Cobbled Lancer, Howlpack Resurgence, Heartless Summoning, big creatures, Bramble Worm, and a foil Join the Dance. These cards are following me. They want me to join the dance. Someone told them I don't know how to dance. Third to last pack. We did get some Traveler's Amulets. That's really good fixing. That's a pretty good one. Sack this artifact, search for a basic, put it in your hand. That's pretty good fixing. So we need to check the artifacts as well. Somberwald Sage. 3 mana of any one color just for creatures. Interesting. Huntmaster of the Fells. There's our rare werewolf. Into an uncommon werewolf that's smoldering. Into a foil Evolving Wilds. Evolving Wilds was like, you need fixing? I'm here. Hello. You've already pulled lots of me, but I'm ready to party. Penultimate pack. Purge. Another Moon Silver. Commons and uncommons are just all repeats at this point. Fiery Temper. Spoke too soon. Edgar's Awakening. Spoke too soon. That's not a bad one. So you can discard this to return a creature from your graveyard to your hand for 1 black, or you can just pay 5 straight up. Creature to the graveyard, from the graveyard to the battlefield. Another Collective Brutality. That's disappointing. Another Heartless Summoning. Cooler Frame. Disappointing card. Clear Shot. Last pack, Magic. Drop some fire emojis there for me in the comments to retroactively send me vibes from the past so that you may wrap back around and deliver future success to me. I hope you understand how that works. If you need me to diagram it for you. Storm-Carved Coast. You got me a rare land here in the last pack. And a Retro Huntmaster. Can we go with a 3 rare last pack? Foil Brambleworm here to ruin our hopes and dreams. But very good box nonetheless. I'm very happy with how this box turned out. Let's start turning it into a commander deck. So off the rip, our 3 best options, it's looking like, are either going to be Archangel Avacyn here. That's a flip card. 2 white, 3 other for a 4/4 with flash, flying vigilance. When it enters, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Whenever a non-angel creature you control dies, transform Archangel Avacyn at the beginning of the next upkeep. Archangel Avacyn transforms into Avacyn the Purifier. Flying 6/5. Whenever this creature transforms into Avacyn the Purifier, it deals 3 damage to each other creature and each opponent. So the idea is you get her onto the battlefield, a non-angel ends up dying, Archangel Avacyn transforms, and you get a 6/5 beater in the air. It also does a little bit of a wrath, a little bit of 3 damage to each other creature and each opponent. Second, we've got Liesa, Forgotten Archangel. We know we got some good support in black, so I'm very interested in this option. Flying, lifelinking, to 4/5 for 5. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, it returns to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. And if a creature an opponent controls would die, it exiles instead. That's crazy, y'all. All cards that say when this thing dies, if it gets exiled instead, that gets turned off. It didn't die. You don't get that effect. So you get to just like shut down entire strategies just by the merit of having that commander. Now, that can make you a target. Be a huge lightning rod of a commander because the player that's counting on death triggers or leaves the battlefield stuff is going to be going, okay, player removal. Fine. I'll just remove it that way. I won't have to deal with it. And then if we want to go with our black cards and blue, which will let us run our Hullbreaker Horror, so we know we've got a hell of a finisher. Grimgrin enters tap, doesn't untap during your untap step. You sack a creature to untap Grimgrin and put a +1 counter on it, and when Grimgrin attacks, destroy target creature defending player controls, then put a +1/+1 counter on Grimgrin. I am firmly between these two, but simply from the merit of Grimgrin being this card destruction, destroy spell thing built into it, and a sack outlet that we can probably take advantage of. Doesn't have to be a zombie, kindred deck necessarily, though a lot of the zombie synergies are going to work great for us. Revival, any sort of things that create zombie tokens that can easily be sacrificed to Grimgrin. But Liesa does represent a little bit of pseudo card advantage. Let me know in the comments which one you would pick before I make my decision here. I want to see which way you lean. I know you probably need to see some cards, so maybe you can tell me at the end if you think I should have been on Liesa or Grimgrin, depending on which one I choose here. What I am seeing is that we're probably not going to be running green Let's go ahead and just get our green stuff out of the way here. We'll double check that there's just no insane cards, but this will kind of help us clean up a little bit and focus in. Traverse is some fixing. Renin 7 is lands in the graveyard. Hermit Druid is sort of a trick. We don't really even have the lands to be able to support that. And then we're into our commons and uncommons past that. Didn't really get Abundant Growth. That's some fixing there. Ambush Vipers, maybe some removal, but just not great to run. Yeah, just across the green, we just didn't get a ton of great commander supporting cards. And we didn't get a creature that will give us the green color identity anyway, so what can you do? You can also take a peek at the gold. Obviously, anything that's got green in that is not going to be relevant for our purposes, so we lose 2 Join the Dance and 2 Grizzly Ghoul. And then if we look at our rare stuff here, Hunt Master, that's not even supposed to be in there. Oh, we got some uncommons mixed up in here as well. Those are still options. No, we're not going to be a blue-white deck, that's for sure. We know that. Maybe a red-white deck. Can't be a black-red deck. Our Maelstrom Pulses can come out. And our other Blood Tithe Harvester. So those are still options for a gold deck. We look at Flesh Taker here. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, you gain a life and scry 1, and you can pay 1, sack a creature. This creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So depending on how many tokens we can make, that is maybe an option to pair with the Liesa deck. Though Blade Stitched Scab could go with Grimgrin here. It's not super impactful, quite honestly. But it's a body. Let's take a peek at our colorless rares here. Hellvault, I'm not super interested in, though we'll put it to the side just in case we need bad removal for some reason. When we cast this spell, target opponent reveals their hand. You can choose from it a non-land with mana value 3 or less and a card mana value 4 or greater, and they discard that. That is a pretty insane card, especially considering we've got Emerge on there. So that's going to go in either black deck either. And then Elder Deep Fiend, when you cast this spell, tap up to 4 target permanents, and it's got Emerge as well and Flash. So as far as top end, black and blue there is looking really good with the Hullbreaker Horror as well. I'm sort of being pulled into black and blue just on the merit of looking at our toppest end. Both of those are playable, as would be the Hullbreaker Horror. We can run Temporal Mastery just to take an extra turn off of it. Oh my gosh, we get access to Deadeye Navigator and Imprisoned in the Moon. Overcharged Amalgam, we already know we're doing a sacrifice strategy, so that's very relevant. Mausoleum Wanderer, not so much, and we already got a copy of Imprisoned in the Moon. But Hello, that seems very relevant. Looking at the white options, since picking black-blue is going to kind of cut us out of black-white. Wedding Announcement makes tokens. Angelic Purge and Fiend Hunter are good removal. Hopeful Initiate, Odric and Cathar's Crusade. If we can get something that's making creature tokens pretty firmly. Odric would, off of our commander, this is relevant, give everything flying and lifelink, because Liesa comes with flying and lifelink. And so that is also pretty dope. But I'm looking at Deadeye Navigator and Hullbreaker Horror and Temporal Mastery and Prison in the Moon. I'm like, these just aren't hitting quite as hard. Let's take a peek at white before we completely dissolve it here and see exactly what we can lean on, because we're going to need creatures to sacrifice in that too. That's creating 1/1s. We got some removal. Crusader of Odric. That's the card I was thinking about earlier, by the way. Drafted a Join the Dance Crusader of Odric deck. Thraben is good. Lingering Souls is actually a playable card in here. In the Liesa deck for sure. It's not super synergistic actually now that I think about it, because you're gonna want creatures that die and then come back to your hand, not so much tokens. Whereas Grimgrin is more into I want tokens. Geist. Yeah, so right now what I'm doing is just looking to see if there's creatures in here, like sack this creature. Cathar Commando plays great in a Liesa deck. It sacks, it destroys the artifact or enchantment, comes right back to my hand. That's fantastic. That's what we want to do with that sort of strategy. And I'm seeing if we've got much of that kind of thing in here, or just good creatures in general. Valorous Stance is really good. That's great removal. Target creature gains indestructible in a turn, or destroy target creature with power toughness 4 or greater. Yeah, I'm seeing some options in there. I don't know. I'm thinking we're gonna set white off to the side and see what we can do with black blue at this point. I know that we've still got the Archangel Avacyn. Just let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek at the red real fast just to make sure that there's nothing in here. Collective Defiance and 2 Mass Hysteria is not really getting me there. Maybe Bedlam Reveler. Zealous Conscripts doesn't really win us a game. And Abrade's just good removal. So yeah, what we're going to do here is we are just going to start working on a Grimgrin Corpseborn deck. And if at any point we feel like the blue is not supporting us, we'll at least have the black and we can pivot into building Liesa and go from there. Let me clear off the board a little bit and we'll get into deck building. As we're putting all the stuff aside, I'm going to pull in Evolving Wilds and that Shipwreck Marsh for this and put those off to the side over here just so I can clear the lands. We didn't get a black-white land, so if we pivot back into that, that's not going to be something we can do anyway. Okay, so we have cleared the deck a little bit. Our lands are going to go over here along with our commander, Grimgrin Corpseborn. Then we are going to take a peek through our artifacts and see if there happens to be anything that we're interested in. Traveler's Amulet, excuse me, not Abundant Maw behind that. I'll put that in the maybe pile. Not interested in any of these. Now, equipped creature gets +4/+2 with an equip of sack a creature. We'll put that in the maybe pile as well, since sacrifice is kind of what we're going to be doing. When this thing dies, it returns as an equipment. I'm okay on that. Cast this spell, draw a card. Put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Gain a life. And this just turns into a Chalice of Death. We're not going to be gaining life with this one. That's a maybe for that Liesa deck. We're going to set that one off to the side for that. Okay, so Soul Separator is doing a lot. You have to sack an artifact to activate it, though, which I think is going to be kind of a deal breaker for us, unfortunately. I do like that it has to do with exiling creature cards from graveyards, because we're certainly going to be putting stuff there. We get all of the abilities onto a 1/1 spirit, and we get the power and toughness onto a zombie token. Unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to be making artifacts enough to just be sacrificing them. So we've got kind of a bad mana rock here. Each player having 10 or less life is basically never going to happen, so you ain't never going to flip this. So we're going to pass on the bad mana rock, unfortunately. Now, hang on a second. We got a foil one. Maybe we do run the bad mana rock just to have some mana rocks. I'm putting it in the maybe pile. The foil got me into the idea. I keep seeing this thing too. Harvest Hand. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield transform. That's sweet, but it says as long as the equipped creature is a human, it gets menace. So we're losing some of the value, and it's just a 1/1 thing past that. So not really where we want to be. As far as the uncommons, we got a definitely out of a Traveler's Amulet, and we got maybes out of Abundant Maw, Demon Male, Hauberk, and Cryptolith Fragment, which, yeah, those are some light maybes, to be sure. So, let's start putting playables into a curve and see where we're at. We'll keep our maybe pile off to the side over here. You'll see me build like this a lot, where I'm just going to start dropping playables onto the mana curve here. I'll make piles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And that'll help me start feeling out where the mana curve of the deck is and how much of what I need to make allowances for, that kind of stuff. Because it's time to start running some bad 5 and 6 mana things just to have some 5 and 6 mana things. So, you will definitely be running all of these. A lot of times too, I will also build where the creatures are up top and everything else is below. We're going to put that off to the side as a big mana cost, and we just hope for the best. Yeah, Hullbreaker Horror is going to go in between that. Hullbreaker will represent everything 7 and above, so like Elder Deep Fiend, Distorted Mindbender. I know we can reduce those, but we're still going to put those in that pile. Mausoleum Wanderers are going to go into what I'm forming, that will be known as the Spirits pile. Just in case we end up with enough spirits in the deck that are relevant, we will run that. I also had set this Blade Stitched Scab off to the side when I was reorganizing the boards here. And so we're going to just keep that over here as well as a 2-drop creature because it might be relevant. We shall see. Already have Imprisoned. When this creature enters, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other into the graveyard. That's not bad. See, for a 4-mana creature, when we know we're going to have to make some allowances. We'll take Think Twice. Battleground Geist. This is the kind of card. Other spirit creatures you control get +1/+0. That's going into the spirits pile, and we'll see if we get there. As an additional cost to cast this spell, exile a creature card from your graveyard, and it's a 3/3 for 1 that gets to exile from your graveyard to draw you a card. That is so on the cusp of unplayable. We'll put it in the maybes. Delver. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's an instant or sorcery, transform this into a 3/2 with flying. At some point, you kind of have to start making allowances. We're going to put the retro Think Twice in here over the regular border Think Twice. Simply because you're not going to have like this enormous card pool to pick from. So you got to do what you got to do a lot of times. Mill 2 cards. Then if there is a colorless creature in your graveyard, transform this into a 4/5 with creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. Mill 2, then if there's a colorless creature card in your graveyard, transform this. I mean, we are running 2 big colorless creatures at the top. Could potentially mill it. That's going into the maybe. This creature enters tapped. When it enters tapped, target creature an opponent controls, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. That's not bad. That's decently playable, and it's a zombie. Essence Flux is a nice little save spell, and it's relevant to spirits. Gotta keep that in mind. Gotta keep that in mind. We are not going to be able to run this because it is a flashback with red card, so that's not going to work. Aberrant Researcher. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. If an instant or sorcery is milled this way, transform this into a 5/4 flyer. Yeah, that's fine. We'll take that. Can't run that. Makeshift Mauler. Fine. Can't. No, we're running black-blue. ETBs. Create a 2/2 black zombie. Target zombie gains Death Touch. Nice. Yeah, we'll play that. Sure. It's a 1/1 for 4. Essence Flux. Makeshift Mauler. Deranged Assistant. Nice ramp in these colors. Plus it lets us mill. Summary Dismissal. It's fine. It's not fantastic. It's a 4-mana counterspell basically. But if anybody gets into like a spell war, I can just put that on top and counter everything. All abilities, all other spells, and it goes. Reckless Scholar. I like that in a deck like this. Draw, discard. Syncopate. We'll put at the top end up here with Temporal Mastery, but good counter spell. It's a spirit that comes back. We'll put it in the spirit pile. Zombie Horror. When it dies, you may search your library for a card named Wretched Throng. Reveal it. Put it in your hand. Well, that's not going to be relevant. Goodbye. Syncopate we have. Syncopate we have. Battleground Geist. Imprisoned. Tower Geist. Except foil. Come on. Let's go. Forbidden Alchemy. Yeah, dude. Top 4. Put 1 into your hand. Rest in your graveyard. Yes, please. We got that. Got that. Got that. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. That player discards a card. If you control a zombie, we're going to have a commander. Soul Cipher board. Enters with 3 omen counters on it. Pay 2. Look at the top 2. Put 1 of them into your graveyard. Whenever a creature card is put in your graveyard from anywhere, remove an omen counter. And if it has no omen counters, transform this into a 3/2 that can block only creatures with flying. And you can pay 4 to draw 2 and then discard 1. It's just so many hoops to jump through. I'll put it in the maybes. So many hoops to jump through. Already got these. Already running these. Retro Essence Flux. Don't mind if I do. Delver, Deranged, Reckless. Labman? Sure. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Sure. We got a lot of self-mill in here. We'll do a little self-mill thing. That's completely fine with us. When this creature dies, mill 3 cards and it's got a disturb. Yeah, we got a sack thing. If this creature enters, you may shuffle up to 3 target cards from your graveyard into your library, and if it would be put into a graveyard, exile it. Cool. That works. Makeshift Mauler. Biolume Egg. Defender. Scry 2 when it enters. When you sack this creature, return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. I mean, this was made for this, right? Sack 2 islands. This can't be blocked. It's a 4/4. Okay. Sure. Sure, fine. Minus X, minus O, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard? Okay. We're playing some interesting cards when we're building this. Return target creature to its owner's hand. We already have a Silent Departure. I'll put the retro one in the maybe pile. Got there. Badman, Wretched Throng, Covetous. Oh, Cackling Counterpart. Yeah, dude. We'll do a Cackling Counterpart. Delver, Biolume, Labman, and another thing twice. Okay, so we're through the blue. So if you're thinking your commander deck's going to have like 36-ish land and then Soul Ring, so that's 37, and an Arcane Signet, that's 38. You've got 62 cards to play with, minus your commander, like 61, somewhere in there. So right now, we've got 27 cards on the board here that make up what we thought was most playable from blue. You saw what the range was of playability, and that's going to happen when you're doing something like this. But I think we do have some good cards in here, and then some cards that we're not going to draw and just go, oh, this is completely useless always. On top of that, we've also got 3 spirits that we set off to the side. Some spirits made the deck, and then we've also got some maybes here that could potentially fill out the rest. But we've got our black to get into. And look, don't worry, once we're done building on the table, we're going to take this whole thing over to Moxfield and mess with it digitally so that you can see where we fell. And I'll also do a little upgrading to it so you can see what I would do first to start helping a deck that I did build out of just a box of cards. So let's get into the same exercise with our black cards here. Heartless Summoning. Creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and creatures you control get -1/-1. I'm not sure that this is what we want to be doing with this deck, simply because we're probably going to try and create small creatures so that we can sack them to Grimgrin and get those, you know, untaps so that we can attack. So I don't know if Heartless Summoning, even though it's reducing all of our creature spells by 2, and we do have some big stuff up at the top, I'm not sure that that's what we want to be doing. So Collective Brutality is an interesting, like, pseudo removal. That -2/-2 is just pretty limiting. If that was like -4/-4 or something like that, and this costs a little bit more, it'd be better for Commander. So I'm kind of a maybe on that. Those will both get the maybe treatment there. Infernal Grasp, I'm 100% on. Also got the cool looking copy of it. Voldaren Bloodcaster. Whenever this creature or another non-token creature you control dies, you get to create a blood, and then when you create a blood, if you control 5 or more bloods, transform this into a flying 3/3 that at the beginning of your combat on your turn, up to 1 target blood token becomes a 2/2 flying bat. That's pretty sweet. If we can get all that going, that's definitely like fodder for sacrifice for Grimgrin. If we can make our blood tokens into bats and then sacrifice those, that's pretty sweet. Infernal Grasp, we're already running. Blood Artist will definitely run. Killing Wave, I think, is definitely worth an initial consideration here. Morbid Opportunist is definitely going in. Sorin Imperious Bloodlord, not going to make the deck. I just don't think we're going to end up with enough vampire support, especially not just like drawing all of this naturally. I guess giving a creature lifelink is not bad repeatedly. And then if we do happen to have a vampire, we can just dump it onto the battlefield. That's into our maybe pile. We'll have to see. Sever the Bloodline, exile a creature, we'll take it. It's not great, but that's what I'm saying. You got to make concessions, and with this deck, 4 mana exile a creature and you get extra value plus a flashback. Get extra value on token decks. I think it's worth it. Crawl from the Cellar is pretty interesting just because we do have a zombie commander. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target zombie you control, and it's got flashback. That could be annoying, especially since we're sacrificing stuff to Grimgrin. Yeah, I would say that that's worth an initial consideration. I really like Edgar's Awakening, something to return stuff from the graveyard to the battlefield. Sanitarium Skeleton is exactly what this kind of deck wants. Return this card from your graveyard to your hand. It's just a repeatable sack for Grimgrin to get that value. This lets us sack creatures as well. Life linking, pay 2, sack a creature, put a +1/+1 on each vampire. It's kind of a maybe for me. Life linking 2/2, transform this whenever anything dies, and it's a 4/3 with life link. Not where we want to be, not impactful enough. Tragic Slip is a definite yes, we'll play that. Hey, we got a retro Crawl from the Cellar. And that is the copy that we will run, please. Thank you. Like a good retro card. Morbid Opportunist. Guess says bidding. Create 2/2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and it's got Madness if you can figure out a way to discard it. That's worth running in the deck as it's currently built. Village Rites is good. Sack another creature, draw a card, then transform this. And it just turns into a 4/4 with no other abilities. Not going to work. Tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Each opponent loses a life. That's interesting. That's interesting. We're playing like a zombie token thing. Whenever this creature enters, create a blood. And whenever you sacrifice a blood... I don't know about that. Ghoulish Procession, though. Whenever one or more non-token creatures die, create a 2/2 with Decayed. Yes, dude. That's exactly what we want. Saw a lot of these. Undying is really good in this deck. That's got green. Asylum Visitor, just because it says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you draw a card and lose 1 life. It's not going to happen a ton during Commander, but our Commander doesn't say draw a card, and we are playing a, you know, sort of limited version of a Commander deck, and so I would definitely run stuff like this because you might get Hellbent, which is a code word for having no cards in your hand. It's possible that you get there, and you want to be able to get back from that, and so that's the kind of stuff. It'll be your first cut stuff, but right now it'll really help you. Okay, so Eaten Alive is really cool. You can exile a creature or planeswalker for 4, which we're already like willing to pay in this deck, but if you can sack a creature, it's actually 5 to cast it full out. If you can sack a creature, it's only 1, so that's definitely the kind of removal that we're going to be running out of the gate in this. Archghoul of Thraben's got some interesting value. Whenever this creature or another zombie you control dies, you can look at the top card, and if it's a zombie, you can reveal it, put it in your hand, and if you don't put it in your hand, you can put it in your graveyard. So it lets you kind of pseudo-surveil. If we happen to hit any of our other zombies, it's something. Destroy target tapped creature is definitely something that we're going to be running out of the gate in this deck. We will take that. At the beginning of your upkeep, sack a creature other than this creature. It's not bad. We would run it right now. We'll run it right now. This returns mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to our hand, and it's going to flip into something enormous. Oh, Graph Rats is what it melds with. I'm actually going to run Midnight Scavengers and Graph Rats if we can find it, because that's actually relevant in our deck. I mean, look, 3 mana or less. We're already seeing a lot of stuff. So that's definitely something that we're going to do. Ooh, we got a retro version of Village Rites. Let's go. Love when I can replace with a retro version. Hey-o. Got that. Got all these. Oh, it's a retro Undying thing. Butcher Ghoul. Come here, Butcher Buddy. You can be my Butcher Buddy. Okay, that's cool. Got these. Can't run that. Got these. Got these. Beginning of your end step, if you gain life, create a blood token. Sack 2 blood tokens. Transform this. Not what we want. Killing wave we've seen. Scavengers. Graph Rats, yes! We could live the dream, chat. It is a possibility with this Commander deck to create the Chittering Host, which is just an okay creature in Commander. But we are going to run it because we can and because we must. Okay, so then you can kind of see where the whole thing starts to fall out. I'm going to add in the Soul Ring and the Arcane Signet that we allow for this game. The Command Tower too, but I'm not counting that in my count right now. So we have got 52 cards, including the Commander, as of right now. That is 48 cards short on the whole deck. 36-ish of those are going to be lands. And so we are about 12 cards short just from this box on our initial pass. I would say we did pretty well. Because looking at this, I would just go in and go, you know, 1 with Silent Departure. Probably still not going to run Soul Cipher board, but I do like the mill thing with the Grizzled Angler now. Probably still not Delver of Secrets. But that was 2. Cobbled Lancer could make it, and so could Lantern Bearer. That's a fine Disturb thing to sacrifice. And then we've probably got... we don't really have enough spirits there to just straight up say, yeah, we're running these Spirit Kindred things. But we add 4 cards there, and then looking at the black cards that we had available to us, you know, Collective Brutality could play a role in this, as could Indulgent Aristocrat, since we've got so much sacrifice stuff going. I still don't think I would put Sorin or Heartless Summoning in this deck, simply because we've got so many right now. 1 toughness creatures, I think that would really throw us off. So those 6 cards, I could say, yeah, that'll help us fill out the rest of it just for the exercise. Harvest Hand, again, low stakes, and you're starting to get to the stuff where it's like, okay, this is the first cuts. You know, if you go to a draft and get more cards that are good for this deck, or you open up some packs or a bundle or something like that, these would be first cuts. But, you know, to finish it out, when this creature dies, that's good for us. Any kind of death trigger cards, this would be a good way to build your deck. Look out for other cards that say, you know, dies, because Grimgrin, we're going to be sacrificing stuff so that we can untap Grimgrin and attack or block. Let's say we could drop the Wretched Griff in here. It's in our colors. It has a merge. It's a decent flying body, and it lets us draw a card, so it's not like preferred, but it is, you know, a finisher that can help us there. I do at this point see some value in running Demon Male Hauberk, just because we are running cards like Sanitarium Skeleton that are going to let us return it over and over again, sacrifice, get extra value. The Hauberk will be able to equip pretty consistently, so I think that could have a place in here as well. I kind of don't mind Cobbled Wings either. We can give Grimgrin flying, and suddenly that's like a finishing style threat, you know, that could be there. So I think that that could be a pretty cool, fun, silly option that they won't expect at first, and again, your first cut, but a good one for now. Abundant Maw is also something that we can do. It's that emerge thing again. Any creatures that are gonna, you know, sacrifice creatures, we're building in strategies for that already. So anything that has to do with sacrificing, those are good cards to rotate in as you're playing through a deck like this and going, I like that card, or I don't like that card. You'll be able to feel it. I play a lot based on feel, and so I'll always have a sideboard with my commander decks in the box, and if I ever draw a card and just in the moment that feeling is like, I don't like this, I can't even think of a situation right now. Even if I could think of a situation rationally, I'm salted off and it doesn't matter. That card's going into my sideboard, and we're getting a new card to come in right after that game. So you can think like that too. Any of these cards are swappable for similar cards that, you know, can achieve the goals as well. And then, honestly, we'll put the Cryptolith Fragment in here. It's a 3 mana rock. We're short on mana rocks. We have the Arcane Signet and the Soul Ring, obviously, but there's not a lot of ramp in this deck past that. And so any ramp is good ramp. We'll just kind of put a question mark on that and call it good. So as you can see, my curve is a little skewed low. I would say you want it to kind of shove a little further into your 3s, 4s, and 5s, but it's the nature of the game, right? That's what we're working with. Let's take this list over to Moxfield so that we can work with a little bit more and see what we would do next. All right, so we're over on Moxfield with Grimgrin completely imported in its current form. As you can see, we've got right now 34 creatures, 10 sorceries, 10 instants, 6 artifacts, 3 enchantments, and then our 36 lands. Looking at upgrades of something like this, we built the deck based off of what we had available, right? We'll talk about the specifics of this deck and like what kind of cards I would look for to make our particular Grimgrin deck better than it is right out of the box. But with your lands, that's where I would start, because you're going to get more consistent the better you have your land base figured out. There are a ton of dual lands that tap for both of your colors, which are black and blue in this case. There are a ton of those available in a lot of different forms. Try and get ones that enter untapped, but tapped ones will work too. Those are going to smooth out your mana base, and it's a start. As you get a land that taps for both, alternate back and forth, taking out a basic swamp or a basic island with this particular one, and keep your land count around that 36 number unless something starts to feel completely off and you're getting flooded or you're getting mana screwed a lot, but you shouldn't around that number on average. Past that, with general upgrades, you're going to want to look at removal. You're going to want to look at card draw. That is where you're right now, your creature count being at 30 plus. That's a little too many, honestly, but it's very healthy. So we don't have to worry too much about, okay, you need more creatures in this, or you're just going to get run over because you don't have enough blockers or removal. But here I would say let's focus on card draw and removal. Those two things with any of these types of builds, or really any of your commander deck upgrades in general, card draw and removal. You're probably not running a bunch of either. You're probably not running enough card draw in general. And I'll tell you, I've played Commander a long time. There's a lot of times I'll build a lot of card draw into a deck and I'll go, I kind of wish I could draw more cards. So consider that when you're upgrading these types of decks in general. As you can see, I've got 100 cards in the deck. Looking down here, I've gone ahead and put in the sideboard examples of where I think your mind should be with upgrades. both with general commander decks, like with cards like Skull Clamp, Go for the Throat, Feed the Swarm, card draw, removal, card draw here. Notice that I've picked cards, Skull Clamp, Deadly Dispute, that kind of play naturally with our theme. Whenever equipped creature dies, draw 2 cards. We're built for sacrificing creatures to make our commander do its thing. So we're going to have creatures die. If they have a Skull Clamp on them, when they die, we get to draw 2 cards. We're building into our synergies and making choices based off of what we're trying to do. Same thing with Deadly Dispute. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. We've got creatures in this deck that specifically can return from the graveyard to the battlefield for just a little mana. Now, when you're looking specifically at a deck, while I'm talking about creatures that coming back, you can upgrade specifics to that deck as well. Find cards like Gravecrawler. 1 mana for a 2/1. This creature can't block. You may cast this card from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. If we control our zombie lord, our commander, we're going to be able to cast Gravecrawler for 1 black from the graveyard, and that gives us a target to reanimate over and over. And as you can see, that was also in the set. We just didn't open it. Going back to a general idea of building and upgrading your commander decks, we need a little more ramp in here. We only got the 2 pieces, 3 if we count our bad one, which we're going to. You'll eventually want to replace that. But cards like Dimir Signet, cards like Talisman of Dominance, the Signets and the Talismans, if you're not in green, are a really good place to start for mana rocks. Very affordable, under $1 for both of those. Then, looking at card draw further, Disciple of Bolas is an interesting way to take our card draw. Enters, we sack a creature, gain X life, draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. You've got card draw here on cards like Siphon Mind. Very budget. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. More destruction of enchantments and creatures. More destruction on a big end creature. If you want to cut one of those top end creatures, you could find one of these functions that you want to perform, destruction, card draw on a big creature. Put that in there instead. And then specific to this deck, cards that are going to make zombie tokens so that you can sacrifice them to Grimgrin. Going to be absolutely huge for you. And then a card as simple as Zolashur that came out in Foundations. Cast target zombie creature from your graveyard this turn. Leave your commander in the graveyard. Recast it. Any of the zombies that you've sacrificed, Zolashur can just let you bring them back right to the battlefield so that they can be sacrificed again. That is the direction that I would take Grimgrin and how I would work on upgrading it right out of the box. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let's have a discussion about my choices and help each other get a little better at building Commander, and especially with this really cool restriction of building it all from a box. If you liked this video, clicking subscribe lets us know to make more. We appreciate it so much. Thanks to our sponsors, and we'll catch you in the next one.